was a wonderful family theater there that charged $1. And even though I was truly a very poor college student, I always found the ability to find a dollar bill or 4 quarters to go. I had to go at least once a week just to kind of break from the studies. And there was a film that came through town called, I think, If This Is Tuesday, This Must Be Belgium. Yes? Oh, I didn't live there all by myself. Well, I think this is Tuesday. This is not Belgium, but this is Notre Dame Retreat House, and this is day 6 of our Festival for Freedom, and I thank you so much for being part of this evening's program. Some of you are very familiar faces. You've been coming, you've had the chance to either be retired, which I guess means do anything you want to, except work, right? And try to find time to do the things you really want to do, right? That's the trick. And some of you have been here, and some of you have not been here before. Just a couple notes. If you did not get a chance to pick up at the registration desk, on one side is the day's agenda, and since you've gotten this far, you're doing okay without it. But I think in some ways, equally important and even more intriguing is the reverse side. One of the resources that the Conference of Bishops has put together for this fortnight of freedom are daily reflections for the 14 days on Vatican II document, Dignitatis Humanae, which really lays some of the foundation for the work that we continue in this festival. So they've given it to us in English, gratefully, and some reflection questions. So to get all 14, you need to come all 14 days. It's that simple. But if you would like that on your way out, you can certainly pick that up. Also, at the theater, I'll be standing there at the end, and I have something that came to me actually yesterday in my email, and I wanted to ignore it because I didn't have time to address it. But then another edition came out today, Virtual Vigil for Religious Liberty. And what it is a website to go on, and they are attempting to get 10,000 signatures of people who are keeping faith with one another during this Fortnight for Freedom. And so I have some copies, just if you're intrigued by that, this will give you what you need to pursue that. And it gives me great privilege to invite you to help support financially these 2 weeks. This is not my nature to ask for money. And you know that this is not an effort that's been supported by any diocesan structure or parish structure. We're running all the finances through a special account at St. Mary's for our transparency and IRS and all those good kind of legal sorts of things and responsible things. But at the end of the day, at the end of the fortnight, we are responsible for paying all the bills. And you are the we. People have been very generous thus far. And I can very gratefully say to you and to God, we're keeping one day ahead of our bills, which is not a bad place to be, which is exactly how I would ideally hope this would be. Okay? This is not a money-making effort. This is meant to break even. This is meant to, at the end of the 2 weeks, hopefully have some monies left over to give to Notre Dame Retreat House. They have been most generous in offering this facility to us, with the only stipulation that at the end of the 2 weeks, if you can give us a donation, that donation will come if we've paid all the other bills. That's the generous spirit in which they've allowed us to be here. And the generous spirit that the speakers have flown in and all those kinds of reality checks, I guess, of life. So I'm going to be standing at the back of the chapel, just outside the doors, at the end of the performance, asking your participation. Now, some of you have already very generously contributed, and I do not mean, I don't think I know how to But I certainly don't need to try to pretend that I know how to guilt people. So if you give something, I'm going to say thank you for being here. If you give nothing, I'm going to say thank you for being here. This is not the opportunity when some of you even brought a purse or a wallet or a checkbook. But if you do want to provide some resources other than what you might have as loose change in your pocket and want to make out a check, again, for accounting purposes, all checks need to be made out to St. Mary's Church Festival for Freedom. So again, that goes in the way of giving. Well, they were here last week, Theater of the Word, and we were absolutely enthralled with their production of St. Paul. Tonight we're going to go into another part of the world inside an office, an Adam and Eve go to marriage house. So Kevin, are you ready? Okay, Kevin is the director of the troupe, and he's going to give you a warm-up, an introduction. Oh, thank you for stepping on that. The people who set up the staging for us have not returned to fine-tuning, as I would call it. In other words, to lose all the squeaks and squitters. So every time you hear a squeak or a squitter, and you will, just offer up a prayer for the success of this festival. You'll be praying on your knees by the end of the evening, I can guarantee. But thank you for being here, truly. And thank you to Kevin and your troupe. Thank you to all the people who are putting this together in so many small and very big ways, in prayer support, in financial support, in physical presence support. It's just a joy to be able to offer these 2 weeks. So, Kevin, they're all yours.
Deacon Claude may let you go past him without making a donation, but when you get past him, you got to go past our table. We're not going to let you get out. Because even though this is a free show, if your cell phone goes off, there will be a $75 fine. Make a check out to Kevin O'Brien personally. This is the Theater of the Word Incorporated. We're based in St. Louis, Missouri. We travel the country evangelizing through drama. We've been on the road almost the entire month of June. We've performed in the Black Hills of South Dakota about 2 weeks ago, and then Buffalo, and Canandaigua. Then last week we went to Rhode Island. So we've been all over. And but tonight you're going to see a show that we haven't done yet on this tour. This is a show that I was a little concerned as to how people would react to. Because you know how typically from your pulpits here in Catholic churches, we don't really hear much about the hot button issues, contraception, pornography, and even marriage. We hear a little bit about that in St. Louis. They're pretty good where we come from, but still, you don't hear a lot about the hot button issues that upset people. So we were afraid, since we put all that stuff in this show, that we might get stoned. But that hasn't happened. Much to our surprise, even performing in affluent suburban parishes, people are quite captivated by this show because I think they understand that this show conveys a dramatic context in which we can place church teaching on love and marriage. And I think they begin to understand that the church teaching, the teaching of Christ, is not arbitrary, but is all about love. Before we go any further, we're going to give away a few things. This is a rosary made by Maria Romine, who plays Eve in this show. And Maria is a former Presbyterian. She's now Catholic. I was her sponsor when she came in. And she makes these rosaries, and I've managed to get this one all knotted up. But still in all, we're giving it away. And you just have to answer a question. This is the easy one. Raise your hand if you know. In what book of the Bible do Adam and Eve appear? You can't yell it out, though. Here, raise your hand. I've got to call you. So I'm going to call her. Genesis is correct. Let's hear it for the winner. Now, when we did the journey of St. Paul, we quoted St. Paul's great hymn to love. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful, etc. In what epistle, what book of the Bible, written by St. Paul, does the hymn to love appear? And if you get it right, you win a Theater of the Word button, retail value $1. Get your hand up in the back this time. Which Corinthians? Ooh. Yeah, 1! Come on up, I don't want to run back there. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, there you go. Thank you. And finally, we're going to give away the grand prize. And to get this is, by the way, I'm going to be on the journey home again on the first Monday of August. And last time I was on as myself, I talked about my conversion from atheist to Catholic and how being on stage was part of that. And then I've also appeared as St. Paul, telling Paul's conversion story, and as Blessed Dominic Barberi, who was the man who received Cardinal Newman into the church, John Henry Newman, in the 1840s. So I'm Dominic Barberi on this one. And the reason we're giving this one away is nobody's buying it. But it's a $20 value. So if you wanted it, you'd have to give me 20 bucks. But you'll get it if you answer this question correctly, and you might know the answer if you were here last week for our show. Fill in the blank. If blank gets a bigger standing ovation than I do, I will be very angry. Yes, sir. Michael Forrest, of course. Let's hear from the winner, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk anymore. You're going to see the show. It's about an hour long. It's mostly funny. You can laugh at it, but it's packed with all kinds of good stuff. So no more from me. We'll see you after the show. Put your hands together for Adam and Eve Go to Marriage Counseling.
God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Genesis 1:27. The beginning. Lustful stallions they are. Each neighs after another's wife. Shall I not punish them for these things, says the Lord? On a nation such as this, shall I not take vengeance? Jeremiah 5:8-9. The middle. Then he said to me, Behold, I am coming soon, and the Spirit and the bride say, Come. And this is how it ends.
Hello?
Yes?
Doctor? Oh,
Yes?
were you 3 o'clock?
My 3 o'clock?
Your 3 o'clock appointment, marriage counseling?
Oh, yes, forgive me. I'm sorry. I was reading, lost track of time. Your name?
Eve.
Eve.
Yes, I'm here with my husband, Adam.
Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Marriage counseling?
Yes. And believe me, we need it.
I see. Well, where's your husband?
I could care less. Look, I don't even know why we're here. I don't even know if it's going to help. 10,000 years of marriage and it's come to this.
I see. Well, maybe we ought to just...
Let's go see a counselor, I said. It's obvious we need counseling, I said. It couldn't hurt, I said.
What did he say?
Yes, dear. That's all he ever says is, yes, dear. He just doesn't even talk to me.
So the problem is communication.
Doctor, this is the man who gave a name to everything. He can be very verbal when he wants to be.
Still, after many years of marriage, verbal communication can become an issue. Perhaps writing. I've often found that a couple's writing.
Writing? Oh, you want writing? Our last counselor suggested writing.
Really?
Yes.
How did that go?
He gave us the assignment to write about how glad we were to be married to one another. And didn't even do it. I did, but he didn't.
What did you write?
Oh, I have it right here, Doctor.
This should be good. Adam, I'm glad I married you because without me, you were wandering around getting lost in the garden. And you were too proud to stop and ask directions.
That made him mad.
I'm not surprised.
He said, the garden? Why'd you have to bring up the garden? Oh, look, here he comes now.
Eve, why'd you start without me? I was part of the car.
I was so desperate for somebody to talk to, somebody that actually acknowledged that I existed, that I couldn't wait, that's why.
Crying out loud, let's not get into an argument in front of a counselor we haven't even met yet.
A counselor that I suggested we see.
Well, I'm here, ain't I? I'm missing the big game, ain't I?
You wouldn't be here if it weren't for me.
Right. I'm here because you asked me to be. What point are you making?
The point I'm making is that if it weren't for me, you'd be at a bar somewhere with your buddies watching the game on the big screen instead of here with me working on our marriage. That's where you would be, Adam. That is exactly where you'd be.
Allow me then to apologize for something I hypothetically might be doing. Allow me to say how sorry I am for something I didn't even do.
See, Doctor? This is how he talks to me.
You see, this is the way she treats me.
You are impossible.
You're impossible.
No, you're impossible.
Oh, for crying out loud, Eve, will you please stop? No matter what I do, it's never enough. You're never satisfied. You are never
I
satisfied.
could easily be satisfied if somebody ever tried.
You're easily satisfied?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. You weren't happy in the Garden of Eden, were you? You're not even satisfied with paradise, Eve. There's not a lot a husband can do with a wife who's not satisfied with paradise.
So it's all my fault. Is that it?
As a matter of fact, it is.
How is it my fault?
The snake, the apple, come on.
Oh, fine.
Well, we're off to a good start.
You see, Doctor? This is how he talks to me. This is...
Will you please be quiet just for a minute?
You never talk to me. You never listen to me.
I put a roof over your head for crying out loud. By the sweat of my brow, I put bread on the table just like God said I would. Thorns and thistles and the rest of that stuff.
Oh, as if I don't do anything around the house, as if raising kids was nothing.
The kids.
Yes.
Oh, let's bring the kids into it, okay? Oh, Doc, let me tell you about the kids. Oh, yeah. Things were going just peachy until we had kids. The first one was born, and I kept saying to her, I can't believe the way you're raising Cain.
That's another thing. Stupid jokes. He is always telling stupid jokes.
Oh, and it's her fault that we got expelled from paradise.
I see. How does that make you feel?
I felt very put out.
You see what I mean?
And then she got bossy. We ate the apple, we knew we were naked. She looked right at me and she said, I'll wear the plants in this family. At least we don't have her mother living with us.
Why not?
She hasn't got one.
Look, if you two are going to make a comedy routine about our marriage, I'm leaving. I don't need this.
Look. I think I can work with you.
You do?
I do. Your problems are very similar to marital problems everywhere.
You're kidding.
Look, wives often feel ignored and husbands often feel henpecked. Now the wives respond by becoming more persistent.
There you go, it's your fault.
And the husbands respond by becoming more withdrawn.
It's your fault.
it becomes a vicious circle. It becomes the fault of each.
All right, Doctor. How did we get to this point? Tell me, how did it all start?
Well, why don't we try and find that, shall we? How did it all begin? How did the two of you meet?
Well, I woke up and there he was.
Oh.
No, it's not like the girls these days. The girls these days don't wake up and find a man. They sleep around and they find a bunch of men. But for me it was different. I mean, I woke up and there he was. The man I knew I was made for. I didn't sleep around.
You couldn't sleep around. That was it.
That's not what I mean. I mean that from the first moment that I can recall, I knew this man was the man for me. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You didn't feel the same way, that he was the woman for you?
Oh, come on! I mean, it's not like I woke up and there she was. Except that's literally what happened. But even in my case, from the beginning, it was painful.
Oh, so I'm a pain in the neck, is that it?
No, more like a pain in the side. You know, it's as if from my side, through something painful, new life came. And at least first, new love. God brought new life and new love from my very side.
Isn't that interesting?
What?
That reminds me of something. Listen. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. The one soldier thrust his spear into his side, and immediately there flowed out blood mixed with water. John 19:33 and 34. You see, from his pain too, from his open side, spilled blood, new life, and love have come.
I don't know, so why do you have to get all religious on us?
I mean, come on, you're a marriage counselor, not a spiritual director.
What does the Bible have to do with marriage?
Everything. Marriage was the first of the sacraments created in the garden. You two know about that. Well, the Old Testament, the book, the Song of Solomon, is all about God's love for us, and it's all presented as a marriage feast. Then, through the prophets, God often refers to the people of Israel as his first love, his beautiful spouse, who he says abandoned him and behaved like prostitutes, lusting after false gods. The Old Testament is all about God's love for us, a very insistent, jealous love. God's love for us and our repeated failure to love him back. Then in the New Testament, Jesus' first miracle is at the wedding feast of Cana. Later, he strictly forbids divorce and remarriage in no uncertain terms. He gives us a new commandment: love one another. The Holy Spirit inspires St. Paul to write a great hymn to love, 1 Corinthians 13. And our Lord's second coming, at the very end of the book of Revelation, is as a bridegroom coming to us, his church. A groom coming to us to consummate the marriage, the everlasting marriage, and the Spirit and the bride say, "Come."
Yeah, well, that's the Bible. But in real life, marriage can be one thing and love can be another.
Sadly, that's true, because we're fallen creatures and our families aren't perfect. But love is perfect.
Love is perfect?
Of course, because God is love. If you don't believe me, look at Jesus. Look at the cross, a perfect image of love.
I agree. Marriage and crucifixion have a lot in common. Living with one woman all of your natural life, not much different from an ancient Roman method of torture. You know, you think, Doctor, that you know so much, huh? Quoting the Bible here, quoting the Bible there. Oh yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Guess what? You don't know God. I know God. I knew him personally.
Explain that.
He thinks he used to walk with God.
There's my explanation. Delivered by the art of ventriloquism. charge of everything. I got to name the plants and the animals. He would walk with me. In the cool of the evening, with the warmth of the day surrounding us, he would walk with me. He would talk with me.
How did that make you feel?
What is this, Dr. Phil? How did that make you feel, Adam? We'll be right back for your answer, Adam. I mean, give me a break. How do you think it made me feel? I was with God, for crying out loud.
So what you're trying to say is you were happy.
More than that, it was more like joy. I mean, I had everything that I could possibly want. Except somebody at my side when he wasn't with me.
Your side?
My aching side. It's kind of funny now, but everything was perfect except I had a sense that creation wasn't finished. There was something missing. I wanted something else. I wanted someone else. I wanted somebody at my side, but he wasn't with me. I wanted what God had, and I wanted what God was. A family.
A family?
You wanted to be God.
Well, explain that.
No, wait a minute. You're the one who wanted to be like God, because the snake came along and told her she could be separate and powerful, but that's not what I wanted. At least not at first. I wanted what God had and I wanted what God was, because God is a family.
A family.
He's not one. He's a relationship. Boy, I wrote a poem about that. It was the first poem ever written. Here, you will hear it? I'll do it for you. Let me hear it.
Oh, brother.
God is odd. He is three. God is odd. He's an odd number. He is three. A trinity. God is odd. He's three. See? It's deep.
Oh, everything's a joke to you.
Like our marriage.
What?
Speaking of which, you know the first thing I said to her when God made her? It was a palindrome. Same thing forwards as backwards. I said, madam, I'm madam. My madam forwards is madam, I'm madam backwards. See?
And everything is a joke to you, Adam. You've been talking backwards, and you're still talking backwards.
Well, that reminds me of what happened on December 24th. On December 24th, I looked right at her and said, Merry Christmas Eve.
I see he can be difficult.
Wait a minute, whose side do you want anyway?
He's on my side because I'm right.
You came out of my side. Don't you forget it.
What does that mean, Adam? That Eve came out of your side?
It means I'm superior. It means I'm the prime specimen of humanity. That's what it means. I'm the original Ubermensch. Whatever that means. It means she's beneath me, and you know about the Bible? You know what it says. Wives, submit to your husbands.
Here we go again.
Well, it's in the Bible. Wives, submit to your husbands. It's in the Bible, isn't it?
Ephesians chapter 5.
Is that in the Bible,
Yes.
Ephesians?
Yes.
So wives, submit to your husbands. You see, it's in the Bible.
Then Paul goes on to say, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved his church, giving up his life for her.
Come on, it's in there.
So Eve does not do what the Bible tells us a good wife should do. She does not submit to you. But do you follow the Bible? Do you act as a good husband should act? Do you love her as Christ loved his church, as St. Paul tells us you should? To the point of self-denial, self-abasement, self-sacrifice. Adam, you love your wife to the point of death.
Oh, let me answer that one. The answer is No.
What do you mean, no?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Selfish.
Selfish? I've given up everything for you. The paradise, the garden, everything I've given up for you.
Don't give me that. You ain't from the apple too, bucko. And you would 10 times rather sit for that stupid computer. That stupid computer that said a word to me.
Well, I wouldn't need to be at that computer if you paid some attention to me. If maybe you were a little bit more...
What do you do in front of the computer, Adam?
Huh? What?
It's a simple question. What do you do in front of the computer?
That's not your business.
Adam, did you know that according to a recent survey, 50% of men who attend church every Sunday are addicted to pornography? That's not 50% of all men, Adam. That's not even 50% of Christian men. That's 50% of regular churchgoers, the cream of the crop. Every other man in the pews is addicted to pornography, most of it on the internet.
Well, so what? I mean, it doesn't hurt anybody.
It hurts me.
It hurts men and women more than they know. Why, it turns love into lust. It's more addictive than heroin. And like all drugs, the user builds up tolerance to it. It takes more and more porn, more shocking images, more degrading fantasies to have the same effect. And like all addictions, like all sin, it enslaves. Men become slaves to this sin in ways we cannot begin to imagine. Why, it perverts the true meaning of sex and converts our longings into cheap, harmful desires instead of what our longings are meant for.
Okay, great. So, what are our longings meant for?
Our hearts are restless until they rest in me. Augustine said that.
Augustine, he's a kid way after my time.
You have a problem, Adam.
Don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I wanted to.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say that.
You know, I'm tired of this being all about me. Let me tell you something, okay? Our longings are meant for God. Well, I don't long for God anymore, and I used to know Him personally. And I don't even think about Him hardly at all. But I tell you what I do think about. I think about how my Catholic Church needs to get its nose out of my bedroom. That's what I think about.
So what you're saying is sex is an entirely private matter.
Sex is between a man and his wife, or a man and his consenting partner. And those girls on the internet, they're consenting.
They're disgusting. And so are you. You're a married man and a dirty old man at the same time.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you know that they're coming out with a new girly magazine? It's only for married men. A girly magazine that's only for married men. Every month, the centerfold is the same darn woman.
You listen to me, Adam. No, you listen to me. No, you're the one who listens.
Quiet! Both of you. I'd like to follow up on this. I'd like to ask a stupid question.
Fine. Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. For example, stupid question, will you marry me?
Stupid answer. Yes.
You drive me crazy. You need to be quiet. That's what
You need to quit talking to yourself is what you need to do. Yes, that's right.
Please. Just for a moment, please be quiet.
Thank you. I've been wanting to say that for years.
The reason I need you to be quiet is so I can ask this question to Adam. A stupid question.
Okay.
Or at least it used to be a stupid question because everyone used to know the answer to it.
All right, doctor. What's the question?
Question is, Adam, what is the purpose of sex?
Let me think. That's a hard one. That's a hard one. Got it! To have fun. What else? Come on.
Sex is for pleasure only. That's its only purpose.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what people do. People have sex. People make love.
On the contrary, love makes people.
Love makes people. What do you mean?
I can't believe how people of all ages have forgotten that these days. Sex makes people, immortal souls, new life. You see, that's the purpose of sex. That plus the union of two bodies and souls in an ecstasy of self-giving.
So according to you, sex has two purposes: making babies and the union of two bodies and souls in a mutual ecstasy of self-giving.
That's correct.
Isn't that funny? I thought it was just for cheap thrills.
You are such a moron, Adam. You get that trash from the internet and the TV.
I wouldn't need that stuff if you made yourself at least attractive to a certain extent. But you don't do that. Oh yeah, I brushed all those things, and it's your fault. You do nothing to make yourself attractive, Eve. Nothing.
Oh, and like you do? You are nothing but a lazy old man.
Oh yeah, I'm old. I'm really old. I am so old. Wow. Ask me how old I am, doctor. Ask me.
Don't ask him.
I'm so old that the other day Eve said, Adam, let's go upstairs and make love. And I said, I can't do both.
Love is not just made in the bedroom, Adam.
What?
It's made everywhere, in ordinary things, in ordinary ways. If you don't show your wife tenderness and affection throughout the ordinary things of the day, your physical love becomes separated from your desire for her. Love is made in the kitchen, in the living room, driving the kids to school.
What point are you making? I don't care what room we go to.
You don't care, do you? You don't care about anything except the internet, the computer, and yourself.
Oh, and your point, madam? And your point?
Let's return to my point. You asked me what point I was
Oh,
making.
fine. We're paying you then? Tell us, what's your point?
My point is, we've forgotten the point
Forgotten.
about sex, especially since the pill. It's much like Peter Craig wrote. Contraceptive sex is exactly like redesigning the Mass, so that you put a condom over the priest's mouth when he's about to say, "This is my body." So Jesus can't come and create the miracle of transubstantiation. Because you don't want that new life. All you want is the thrill of playing at it. That's what contraception is. It's putting a condom on God. Putting a barrier, a diaphragm between God and the miracle he might otherwise perform in you. That's my point.
What kind of therapist are you anyway? I mean, how long have you been doing this?
About 1,700 years.
What?
Eve, I have a question.
No, Eve. Listen. I think we've been here long enough. Let's just quietly go. Okay? Quietly.
Adam, I'm staying here and you're going to sit right in this chair and stay here for 10 more minutes.
That's crazy. I'm used to being a therapist for 1,700 years. We're paying her money. I'm not staying. Give me one reason why I should stay. Give me one reason.
Because we have to pay for a full hour even if we leave early.
Oh.
All right, doctor. I'm ready. What's your question?
What was it like?
What was what like?
The garden. Adam here has told us a bit about life in the garden, but you haven't said much about that.
Well, that's because Adam's always looking backward. He's longing for it. I've moved on. I'm looking forward.
Why is that?
Because I hold the promise, Doctor.
What promise?
God told me that from me will come the one who will crush the head of the serpent.
Indeed, it was a child of Eve who crushed the serpent. It was the Son of Man.
Yeah, well, my hopes were dashed.
What do you mean?
Our kids didn't turn out so well.
What happened?
You know, boys will be boys.
One killed the other. Cain murdered Abel.
direct ancestry of Jesus. It includes Judah, who sired a child with his daughter-in-law, thinking she was a roadside prostitute. David, who fathered one of Jesus' great-grandfathers by sleeping with a woman who was married to another man, a man he also murdered. And in a sense, the entire people of Israel, who kept rejecting God's grace and turning their backs on his salvation again and again throughout their long history, and yet, from such humble and even shameful origins, came the man who was to save us, the man who was also God.
Okay, look. It's obvious that you know a lot about the Bible, a lot about God. You sure know a lot about the church and what it teaches about sex, which incidentally is the one place where the church is always wrong. But you don't know everything. I've been at this a lot longer than you have, you see? A lot longer than 1,700 years. And you don't get it. You make it sound like things are better, or they're getting better, or God made them better, but that's not the case. Take it from me. Whatever God did or didn't do, whatever man did or didn't do, whatever Christ did or didn't do, none of it matters. I've got scripture to back me up. In the beginning, God made the world and rested. Then God made man and rested. Then God made woman, and neither God nor man has rested since. The book of Adam, 1:1.
I hate you! I absolutely hate you!
We are getting our money's worth. Let me tell you something. Your therapy is really working. It's opened up avenues of communication. We realize we have a lot in common. Mutual animosity, for one thing.
How can you say that nothing God does matters?
Eve, look around. Are people any better now in 2012 AD than they were in our day, 2 million and something BC?
Yes.
What? Yes?
Yes, the answer is yes. Think about it. The pagan world was based upon cruelty and slavery. The Christian world is taught freedom and charity.
You don't get it. People are no better now than they were then. I mean, I walked with God. In the garden, I hardly even think about him now. And these days, it's even worse. These days, most people don't even believe he exists.
Well, I don't see how it's come to this.
I don't understand. You don't see how what's come to this, the world or your marriage?
Both. I don't see how the world has come to this, and I don't see how our marriage has come to this. It's the same thing.
Well, it is the same thing. For the world is based upon the family.
What do you mean?
Think of it this way. Our bodies are made up of cells. A cell is an organized unit of matter, right? A one composed of many. A unity of diversity playing its role in the function of the whole.
Right. What's he talking about?
I have no idea.
What I'm trying to say is that just as our bodies are made up of cells, so the body of Christ is made up of cells. Families. Groups of people permanently joined in love, playing their role in the function of the whole.
Cells and bodies. Are you a biologist or a psychologist?
Well, I'm a priest.
A priest?
That's right.
But you don't dress like a priest.
We didn't wear the collar in my day.
Your day? When was your day?
We'll get back to that in a moment. Now, I'd like to follow up on something. Now, did you know that between 1950 and 1995, the suicide rates for young people in the United States increased dramatically?
I'm not surprised. The world's a pretty messed up place. I wouldn't be surprised if that rate had doubled by now.
The amazing thing is that it tripled. But suicide is still very rare, far less than 1% of the population. And yet, what would the two of you say if a full 1% of the population committed suicide? I'll even go better than that. What would you say if 10%? Or 20? What would you say if a full 50% of people killed themselves?
Well, I'd say that society was self-destructing.
It is.
It is?
Of course it is. Think about it. Today, 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Divorce is suicide on the family level. Don't you understand? It destroys the family, breaks the most solemn vow a man or a woman make in their lives, a vow to one's other self, the other half of the one flesh the husband and wife have become. It messes up the children and destroys the most primary unit of love.
Yeah, but sometimes it can't be avoided.
Sometimes it's the only solution.
Oh, it's a solution, all right. A dissolution, a solvent, an acid that eats away at everything.
All right, listen, doctor or father or whoever you are, I appreciate your passion, but don't be naive. Come on, for one thing, there's no reason why I can't divorce Eve and marry another woman. It's sensible.
It's superstitious.
Superstitious?
Yes, superstitious. To think that a solemn vow to live till death do us part with your first wife can be set aside or broken by a ritual in a law court? To think that a man can break a vow and make it again afresh to remarry? To be forsworn on one altar and sworn on another? It's superstitious.
Yeah, but people are happier when they divorce and remarry.
Maybe, maybe not. But Christ clearly stated that anyone who divorces his spouse and marries another is guilty of adultery. It's in 3 of the 4 Gospels. Christ didn't take a very kind view toward divorce and remarriage, and neither does his church.
Oh, you're right there. Oh, the Catholic Church hates divorce and remarriage. Exactly. Bingo! They hate it in every case except when it comes to the Kennedys.
Will you quit being so negative?
I'm just being honest.
You don't know anything about marriage.
Oh, you do.
Why, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I believe that marriage is one of God's greatest gifts.
One of God's greatest gifts. Oh, if that's the case, then divorce is a bad idea. And adultery is a bad idea. And pornography is a bad idea.
Yes.
And one man marrying another man is a bad idea.
No, wait a minute. I believe in gay marriage. I am tolerant.
You're sick. Come on. People have been doing disgusting things with their private parts ever since Sodom and Gomorrah. There's lots of words for that, but one of them sure the heck ain't marriage.
Well, I do not believe that gay people should be persecuted. I believe that they should be free to get married.
Well, I agree they shouldn't be persecuted, but they're no more free to get married than I am to flap my arms and fly to the moon.
And what do you mean by that?
I'll ask you a question and it'll illustrate it, okay? How many legs does a dog have if you call the tail a leg?
5.
Wrong. 4. You can call the tail a leg, but that doesn't make it a leg.
But, Adam, when 2 men really love each other...
They wouldn't do the kind of stuff you're talking about. That ain't love, sweetie.
Oh, and as if you know anything about love...
I'm a very loving person.
No, you're not. Because if you were, you would allow for gay people to get married. They cannot help how they are. It is part of their nature, Adam.
Nature?
Yes!
You don't even believe in nature.
I do so. I love nature.
You do not. This whole argument is about the nature of marriage. You don't think marriage has a nature. I say it's between one man and one woman. He says it's all about love and babies and never divorcing. Either way, this is an argument about nature, the nature of marriage.
Marriage is what we make it. It has no nature.
See this thing?
Yes.
I happen to know one part of this book here, okay? Jesus said to the Pharisees, the baptism of John, is it of God or of man? They wouldn't answer. So I'm going to ask you, my lovely wife, marriage, the sacrament of marriage, is it from heaven or from men? Is it of God or is it of us? If it's of us, yeah, we can do whatever we want with it, but wait a minute. What if it's from God?
Adam, you're starting to make sense.
How can you say that? He's the most senseless man I know.
All right then. If that's the way you feel and you want to answer the question, I'll just have to ask it again. Is marriage from heaven or is it from man?
It's from man. It's just a social institution, nothing more.
But earlier you said it was one of God's greatest gifts.
Will you quit changing the subject? Adam, you asked me a question, I'm going to answer that question. The answer is marriage is what we make it.
Well, then why don't you make ours a little bit more like a real marriage? If you believe in love and marriage so much, why don't you prove it?
How?
Spend one night at home.
Adam, are you saying that Eve does not spend the night at home with you? That she sleeps elsewhere?
She sleeps at home. But why don't you ask where she spends every evening, every morning, every afternoon, every waking moment? Why tell her?
I volunteer at the church.
That's right. And you have lunch with your friends. Oh, and you help with the fundraisers. And you're at the fish fry. And you're shopping. And you're chatting. And you're talking. And you're never with me. Every purpose, every person, everything but home and the family. You're sick. You're addicted to over-volunteering. You're addicted to constant activity. It's an addiction, a sickness.
I do it because I enjoy it. And you know what? I can give it up anytime I want to.
Well, I've heard that before. In fact, I've said that before.
You're just trying to get me down, Adam. That's what you're trying to do. You're like all those men. You're out to bully. You're out to control. You're out to narrow down our lives and our choices. That's what you're after.
Laura, look. You think staying at home and being a wife and mother is narrow? And that big world out there where I have to work for a living because I left the garden and I had to? You think that's wide and vast? I'm a man. I know about that world. It's the most narrow, cramped, confining place you can imagine. Traffic, subways, lies, sales, hoopla. Coming home, kicking back and being with a wife and kids who love you, that's liberty. That's freedom. That's openness. You think I'm keeping you cooped up? You think I'm keeping you a prisoner? In the most wide and open space in all creation? A family?
Excellent, Adam. You have a sense of what I've been trying to say.
No, he doesn't. You know what? You do not turn on me, Doctor. He is the one that we are here to fix.
No, it's not just him, Eve.
Well, certainly not just me.
No, it's not just you either. It's everything. It's the relationship. It's the family. What we are here to fix, what we are here to defend with God's help is the family.
What do you mean?
If families weren't important, Eve, our Lord, when he was most vulnerable, would not have placed himself in the care of one. It was from a family that our Lord came. Think. If Mary had not loved him, if Joseph had not obeyed the voice of God in his dreams, if they had all three not loved and cared for one another, where would any of us be?
But you don't understand, Doctor. We've lost our love. We don't have anything to keep us together, to keep our family together. He's got porn, I've got too much to do. And either way, we've lost each other.
I want you to think about something. Joseph and Mary lost Jesus. They lost him for 3 whole days. They didn't give up. They searched for him desperately in agony until they found him. And where did they find him? Going about his father's business.
You don't understand, Doctor. We haven't lost Jesus. We've lost our love.
I tried to tell you this earlier. God is love, and Jesus is the incarnation of God, the incarnation of love. So, if you've lost love, then you know the way. For he is the way, the truth, and the life. If you've lost it, go about your Father's business, and you will find it. You will find him.
Well, yeah, that sounds good. That really doesn't mean anything.
No, Ed. Actually, it means a bunch of very practical things. Things you would probably never hear from the pulpit even if you did go to church. You know what it means? It means get off porn. Stop acting like it's no big deal. Get help. Kick the habit. If you don't, you're probably committing mortal sin. So pray for freedom from this sin. Realize that sex has a purpose, just as God has a purpose. And the love of a spouse in marriage is a shadow of the love of the Trinity in God. You knew that in the garden. You don't need me to tell you that. You don't need St. Paul to tell you to love your wife as Christ loved his church.
Are you listening to him? Are you getting this? Are you listening to him? Are you doing it?
Stop nagging him. Submit to his authority. His authority represents the authority of God. Oh, man! Cut the sarcasm. It's a pitiful excuse for wisdom. You know, being a wiseacre doesn't make you the least bit wise. And being a smart aleck doesn't make you the least bit smart.
Yes!
Oh, I am so thrilled that he's finally putting you in your place. You seem to be
Quiet! Both of you! Wake up! You once told me you woke up to one another into love. Yeah, you told me that earlier. You told me how you woke up to one another, and you knew not only love, a love of self-giving, but you knew something along with that. You knew that when God joined the two of you, He completed the destiny of each of you. Adam, He called you. You heard His call and the longing of your heart. You responded by praying from that longing, from that pain of loneliness in your side. And He answered His own call by giving you the woman who is now standing across from you. Bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh, the mother of all living. Don't you see? In dying to your separate lives as two, you've discovered a new life as one.
All right, well, I've got to admit that pretty much sums it up.
And you knew when you first woke up to one another.
But we've lost that feeling.
Eve, love is more than a feeling.
We lost all of paradise.
Yes, you lost that place, that special time. It was a gift at one time, but now it requires work. Your marriage, goodness, every marriage requires work. Adam and Eve, don't you see? It's more than just a feeling that's been lost, the memory of a special time that's passed. Every marriage goes through this. Every marriage falls. But if we give up at that point, if we jump ship and think we can find paradise elsewhere, if we leave the bark of the family and set off on our own little lifeboat, if we go off on our own wayward course, that's where we go wrong. You see, paradise is no longer on earth. It's not found on some sailor's map. You can't find it on the internet app. By cheating on your wife, you cannot find it. By busying yourself with everything you can think to distract yourself from your responsibilities. There's no sailor's map that leads you there. The only way back to paradise is a way of sorrows, a way of hard work, a way of the cross. Yes.
Let's suppose somebody was in that position. They had jumped from the bark of the family, as you call it, and they were sailing off on their own. And let's suppose somebody felt like kind of lost, and they wanted to get back, and they felt that they had lost love or Jesus or whatever. I mean, how would they get back?
Navigate by the star.
The star.
I am the root and branch of David, the bright morning star, and the Spirit and the bride say, come. See that? That's the end, my friends, the consummation of this book.
It's That's just more scripture. I'm not buying that.
But Adam,
No. I have one question for you, doctor or father, or whoever you are. I have one question before I listen to another word you say. It's a stupid question, but you asked me a stupid question, so I'm going to ask you a stupid question. And I want a straight answer.
Fire away.
Why should I listen to you? I mean, you're a priest. You just told us you're a priest, right? If you're a priest, you're not married, right? Well, if you're not married, you have no idea, pal. You have no idea. Not married, not been there, not done that, not any help to me whatsoever.
I can't argue with you about it. I was never married, you're right, I was a priest. Although I will say, in my day, clerical celibacy was not universal.
your day? When was your day?
Let's see now, I died in the year 270.
You died?
Yes, in 270, well, maybe in 273. No, I don't recall exactly. It's been over 1,700 years, so I don't exactly recall.
Oh, I wouldn't you? That's a long time ago. I can hardly remember last Tuesday.
That's because Tuesday's trash day. He forgets on purpose.
Wait a minute. You just said you died. You just said you died in the 3rd century.
Under the Roman Emperor Claudius II. You see, the soldiers arrested me. I was a priest, and I spent much of my time helping couples, marrying couples, Christian couples. It was illegal to help Christians in those days, and Claudius was persecuting the church.
So what happened?
Well, they imprisoned me. And Claudius often sent for me on several occasions. He began to take a liking to me, much as St. Paul's captors had taken a liking to him nearly 200 years earlier.
Okay, but if the emperor started to like you, then how did you die?
I tried to convert him. I spoke to him of Christ, of love. He told me to renounce my faith. I refused. He condemned me to be stoned and beaten with clubs.
It's terrible. To die in such a way. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that didn't do the trick.
Well, what did you say?
No matter what they did, stonings, beatings, I wouldn't die. Many of the early martyrs were like that, our invulnerability serving as a witness against our executioners. Finally, in frustration, they beheaded me. That did the trick. So I do indeed have a right to give you some advice.
We should take advice from a man who's lost his head?
If a man must lose his life to find it, sometimes a martyr must lose his head to keep it. You see, not only did I counsel couples for 1,700 years, not only did I endure fierce beatings, which have given me an insight about how to survive anything, even a difficult marriage. Not only have I done all these things, but I gave my life for love. I was a martyr for Christ. So I think at the very least I can give you some advice. Now, I have to prepare for my next appointment. Feel free to stay a bit and reflect. You can let yourselves out when you're ready. God be with you.
He?
Yes?
Who is he?
No. I went through the desk drawer and I found his business card. That's all I know.
St. Valentine's Counseling Service. Marital, personal, professional. St. Valentine.
So, Adam, I think we're off to a good start. I mean, at least we're talking to one another. I'd like to see him again. That's if you want to see him again. What do you say, honey?
Yes, dear.
Adam?
No. I meant yes. Dear, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, mother of all living. Let's see if we can work this out.
Adam, I love you. In spite of everything, I love you.
Well, a man can't ask for much more than that, can he? Come on, Eve. As I said when we left the Garden of Eden, let's get to work. All right, Michael Boris, stop that. Thank you so much. You know, you can imagine what a blessing this is for us to go around the country doing shows like this. This is one of many. Journey of St. Paul was all about Paul, for those of you who saw it. Very powerful show, all scripture. We do Socrates Meets Jesus, based on the book by Peter Craig, Faith of Our Father, a comedy about life in a typical suburban parish, which we call St. Somewhere. And I've been doing this one-man show as Father Stanley Yaki, who was a Benedictine, who talks about science and religion and how they relate and how they're separate. It's called The Savior of Science. I thought it would be a very difficult show, but people absolutely love it. So we never know. I do a one-man passion show. We do all kinds of things. About a dozen different shows. More. Really, we do more than that. And my wife and I have 2 theatrical companies. My wife Karen is back in St. Louis. We have Upstage Productions. We perform comedy murder mysteries all over the country at wineries and on dinner trains. That's how we make our money. We have Theater of the Word Incorporated, in which we evangelize through drama, and that's how we lose our money. So, as you leave, you give your money to Deacon Claude, and then he'll be able to give some of that money to me, and we'll be able to pay for our gas to get back to St. Louis. And then if you forget to give him money, you stop at our merchandise table. We're selling our DVDs from EWTN, some of the stuff we do on the network. We're selling my book and lots of other interesting things. A beautiful picture of Mary that I took in a stained glass window. And if you want to make donations on top of what you give Deacon Claude, please do that because it helps us. But be sure, don't pass him without something because, man, they've done some work here. 14 days of nonstop events. And it's the only place in the country, I think, that's trying anything like this. So you need to support them, and God bless them in their efforts. Let's hear it for Deacon Claude. Everybody.